Welcome to the Future Strong podcast. Today we're looking at an idea from the late Aaron Swartz, the theory of change.
Mm-hmm. You shared some really fascinating raw notes of his on this concept.
Exactly. And our mission today is to sort of unpack what that actually means, and maybe more importantly, how it could help you, our listener, be, well, more effective in reaching your goals, whatever those may be.
Yeah, what's really interesting is how Swartz sets it up. He argues that a lot of people tend to operate with what he called a theory of action.
Theory of action, okay.
Right. It basically means you start with what you already know how to do, your existing skills, and you just sort of hope that applying them leads towards the outcome you want.
Like working forwards and hoping for the best.
Pretty much, yeah. Keeping your fingers crossed.
Okay, so he contrasts that with this theory of change.
Exactly. And that flips the script entirely.
Yeah.
Instead of starting with your skills, you actually start right at the end. You picture the finish line, your ultimate goal.
And then work backward.
Precisely. You work backward methodically, step by step, figuring out what needs to happen to get you there.
That distinction sounds pretty crucial. It seems like it could help avoid just spinning your wheels on stuff that doesn't actually move the needle.
Absolutely. And Swartz really felt this wasn't just some abstract idea. He observed that, many people, even folks in big, well-funded organizations, often default to that theory of action.
Just do what they know how to do.
Right, without clearly mapping out that chain of cause and effect needed for real success. He uses a couple of really concrete examples to show the difference.
Okay, let's get into those. The first one was about decreasing the U.S. defense budget.
Yeah, pretty big goal. So Swartz asks, how would someone typically approach this using a theory of action?
Right. So maybe they think, okay, I'm a good writer. I'll write a really powerful blog post or article arguing why the budget should be cut.
Exactly. They're using their skill writing and hoping it somehow contributes to that huge, complex goal.
Makes sense. But the theory of change approach?
It starts differently. You begin with a specific outcome. The defense budget is actually reduced. Then you ask, okay, how does that physically happen?
Well, I guess Congress has to pass a new budget with lower numbers, right? And the president has to sign it.
Precisely. That's the mechanism. Congress passes it, the president signs it into law. And that's the first backward step.
Okay. So it forces you to think about the actual process, not just the desire.
Yes. And Swartz's point is that even for goals that seem straightforward, you need to understand the system you're trying to change. What are the levers?
Right. So the next question is, how do you get Congress and the president to do that?
How do you get a majority vote in both the House and the Senate? How do you get that presidential signature?
That pushes you straight into thinking about what motivates politicians, doesn't it?
It does. And Swartz breaks that down. He suggests a few key drivers.
Yeah.
One is, what they genuinely believe is the right policy.
Okay. Their principles or ideology.
Then there's the big one. What will help them get reelected?
Always a factor.
And also things like peer pressure within Congress or other psychological influences.
But hang on, isn't it also true that sometimes big shifts happen because of, unexpected events? Or massive swings in public opinion? How does working backward account for that randomness?
That's a really fair point. A theory of change isn't, a perfect prediction tool. It's more about mapping the most likely path and identifying the key influence points based on how things normally work. It helps you focus your efforts strategically, even if surprises can still happen.
Okay, so focusing on influencing them based on what's right. Swartz brings up an interesting scenario there. If you or I just walked up to, say, the Speaker of the House and tried to convince them cutting the budget was the right thing.
Yeah. Would that work? Probably not, right? As Swartz suggests, we likely don't have that kind of credibility or established trust with someone in that position.
So the theory of change forces you to ask the next question. Who does have their ear? Who do they trust?
Exactly. And then your strategy might shift to persuading those influential people first. It's about finding the right messengers.
It really makes you think about influence networks, not just direct action.
And Swartz emphasizes this is still just one part of a potentially very, very long chain. Influencing key people is one thing.
But then you need the actual bill, right? The specific legislative language.
You need it drafted, introduced. It has to get through committees, survive floor debates, amendments.
Wow, yeah. It really underscores that major change usually requires a sustained strategic campaign, not just one-off actions.
Definitely. So that's the large-scale political example. But he also applied this thinking to something much more personal.
Right, the bestseller example. He wanted his book to become a bestseller.
Yes, and he apparently got some laughs when he mentioned this ambition.
I can imagine. Because most people probably see that as, well, kind of hitting the lottery, right? You write a good book and just hope.
Which is pure theory of action thinking. Write the book, hope for the best.
So how did Swartz apply his theory of change to becoming a bestseller?
Okay, so start at the end. The book is a bestseller. Work backward. What does that mean?
It means a lot of people bought it, really large numbers.
Okay. Next step back. How do you get lots of people to buy it?
You have to persuade them it's something they want or need, I suppose.
Right. And how do you do that? The book itself probably needs to meet some common desire people have.
Like entertainment or
Yeah.
learning something new, self-improvement.
Exactly. Those kinds of things. And then, crucially, you need to communicate effectively that your book fulfills that desire.
Ah, so it's not just writing it, it's about positioning it and getting the word out in the right way.
Yes. Thinking about things like, how do people decide what books to buy? Maybe it's seeing it everywhere, media appearances. Maybe it's just sheer buzz and word of mouth.
So you'd need to figure out how to generate that kind of visibility and social proof.
That's the idea. It's a proactive approach to engineering the conditions for success, rather than just passively hoping readers find it.
But as Swartz himself noted, and I think a commenter named Seth Finkelstein brought this up too, there are a huge number of people trying to write bestsellers.
Right. The odds are still incredibly long, and working backward might lead you to realize that, realistically, a viable path to that specific goal might be very hard to find or execute. The formula isn't guaranteed.
It's not like there's a simple checklist.
No. And another commenter, Berthel Barth, made an interesting point comparing it to, say, buying a lottery ticket. Writing a book involves countless choices about the craft, the market, the promotion.
So it's more complex, but also gives you more potential levers to pull, unlike a purely random lottery draw.
Exactly. Barth's point about focusing on the quality of the work and understanding the market really fits the theory of change idea. It's about making informed, strategic choices all along the way to increase your chances.
Okay, so pulling it all together, the real power here seems to be in that proactive mindset. Actively figuring out how to get there, mapping the steps.
Instead of just doing stuff and hoping it works out.
Yeah.
It forces you to be strategic, to identify what actually needs to happen, and then you can evaluate if what you're doing now is actually contributing to that chain reaction.
Keeps you on track.
Right. And it's interesting, some people commented on Swartz's notes mentioning related concepts. Matthew Michaels mentioned Goldrat's thinking processes.
From the book, It's Not Luck.
Yeah. And someone named Lisa J. Scheinkoff wrote, Thinking for a Change. Though Swartz himself apparently said he hadn't found most books on this subject very helpful, which suggests his take was maybe a bit different.
Interesting. So it seems this theory of change, while maybe not a totally unique idea, offers a really practical framework, doesn't it, for thinking strategically about pretty much any goal.
Definitely. Start with where you want to end up. Work backwards systematically, figure out the crucial steps, and identify who or what needs to be influenced.
So for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to think about a goal you have right now. What's the ultimate outcome you really want?
Yeah, and then try tracing it back. What are the concrete things that absolutely must happen to reach it? Who are the key players?
Thinking backwards like this might just bring some real clarity, maybe uncover steps you hadn't considered before.
It's a powerful way to approach things, aiming for effectiveness.
Absolutely. This is just scratching the surface, of course, but we really encourage you to mull over this concept. Think about how applying a theory of change, maybe even through some dedicated 24/7 strategic thinking, could empower you in different areas of your life. What else could benefit from looking at the end goal first?